everybody, it's Ree, or Rebel Inks Art, here with the first of many character design challenges. For these, as you saw in the intro, I pull a random aesthetic off Softhoof's aesthetic generator and design a character based around it. If you'd like to try this out for yourself, there's a link to the site in the description below. You can get some really fun and really weird prompts out of it. Now, like you saw, this character's prompt was Rain Vintage, and despite my excitement towards the prompt, I had a hard time coming up with a concrete idea for this. I messed around with a few poses and ideas, but it's hard for me to start drawing unless I have a clear idea of what's ahead. Eventually, I settled on designing some kind of trickster rain goddess, the kind of gal who gets her kicks out of making it rain in the middle of your picnic and the like. I went with the 1940s as my inspiration because I'm a huge sucker for the 40s, and especially 40s hair, and wanted to try my hand at drawing some of them fun dudes. Despite having a strong idea of what I wanted, I was having an easy time with the vintage, but a hard time with the rain. It wasn't until the fluffy curls of the hair reminded me of clouds that I really knew what I was doing. By shifting the curls into rain clouds, and the pulled back hair into rainbows, as we'll see when we get to the line art portion of the speed paint, I was finally able to start enjoying this drawing. The sketching process is always one of my absolute favorites when I'm doing a drawing. It really gives me an idea to kind of flesh out the character. While I'm sketching, I love to think up different concepts about this character that I'm creating. It kind of helps me direct the rest of the design and figure out how to add more personality to what I'm doing. For example, while I was drawing this gal, I decided her name was Helen and that she was the absolute worst when it came to PTA meetings. She became a real fun character for me to mess around with her fun little snarky grin and her hands on her hips. One of my favorite little design elements was definitely her teardrop beauty mark. I like to make sure I have a very concrete sketch done before I even begin to move on to line art. I like to have everything plotted out before me, that way I don't have to really leave anything up to figuring out when I'm doing my final line arting. I did a little crop of the photo here and adjusted her position, that way she'd better take up the space she's got. And finally got to start in on doing that line art. I always turn the correction up high and make sure that all my lines remain nice and fluid, that way everything feels like it's got a much softer flow to it. I don't like to have any janky lines in my art. I need everything to feel like it fits nice and perfectly where it is. Lining hair is always one of my favorite parts of the process too, because really all it takes is a few lines to kind of suggest where the hair is flowing, but for the most part it's just leading the eye to where you want it to go. It's very, very minimal effort. Making sure all the clothing flows correctly too is always a big problem for me. I want to make sure that everything sits exactly like it would naturally. I hate having my clothing look like it's just kind of floating on something that isn't quite there. Getting it to flow correctly around the legs was a bit of a challenge for me, but in the end I feel like I'm really happy with how I got it to look. Doing those cross-legged poses can always be a pain when you've got a character in a skirt. It's something I definitely need to work on improving with. I had a few holes in my line art, which is a bit of a frustration for when you do coloring like I do, so I had to take the time to go back and fix that before I could finally start throwing on those flat colors. I like to do a sloppy layer first. It lets me figure out that everything matches well enough so I don't have to have any conflicting colors after I've already put a lot of detail into filling them in. So here I am just throwing on those kind of base colors that I want to work with before going back and cleaning everything up, making sure it stays inside its lines, filling things in, adding details. Here I messed around with the eyes a bit, tried something a little different from what I normally do. I didn't like it very much. I ended up going with something a bit more basic, but still nice and inhumane to show that she's not quite everything that she appears to be. Time for those rainbows! I ended up including rainbows in her eyebrows too, which is a design I'm still happy with. I feel like it kind of pulls it all together. Definitely gives her a much more mischievous appearance too. Had to give her some of that bright red lipstick, which I know is more of a 50s thing than a 40s thing, but hey, I can do what I want. If I want bright red lipstick, then I'll have bright red lipstick. Thank you very much. With all the colors cleaned up, it's time to start on the nice fun little details that really make the picture pop. I started by making the shoulders of her dress nice and wet, like she'd just been out in the rain. This was an aspect that I kind of threw in at the last second, but I was very happy with how it turned out. I also drew some cute little yellow designs onto her dress, just to kind of make things a bit more detailed. I wasn't quite sure what direction I was going with it, but it ended up looking pretty cool, so can't say I don't like it too much. Next, I threw on a clipped layer and started doing my shading. I like to do my shading all with one color, normally purples or blues, and then throw it on multiply and go back with a soft eraser and kind of fuzz things out. I feel like it gives it all a nice soft while still crisp sort of shading. Time to smooth it out. Next I came in with the airbrush tool and a nice bright yellow and threw a nice gentle soft fuzz around the side, switched it on to add to give it a nice sort of glow so that she would really pop out from the picture. And finally I messed around a bit with the line art and threw a couple more finishing touches on the picture. You can see now the picture is hovering right next to the side, nice and finished. I'm very happy with how it turned out, to be honest. It's probably not my best picture, but it's definitely one that I'm going to enjoy even after I've improved in my art. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Feel free to send me whatever designs you do yourself, and remember to keep on drawing. Thanks you guys! See you later!